play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horse.
Ding shoo bob shooby doo doo booby doo dow.
Bang! Hot dog!
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Huddled deep beneath the blankets, hunkered down against the cold. No one there to keep her warm, no one there to hold. She's calling out her name at night, hoping to be heard. Far across the lonely miles sings a morning bird. There's a candle lit forever in the smallest, darkest room, burning strong against the cross, against the heady gloom. At a place to set forever at the table of his soul. You can see it through the window, you can feel it through the cold. When the darkness falls upon you and the pain is too to bear, when the heart is bleeding bitter and the cold is everywhere, just bite into the stars at night and fold into the day, and remember that the moonlight is just sunlight anyway. Driving into town one night, driving to the wow, she practiced smiling in the dark, she'd forgotten how, and it felt so foreign at the time, but times move us still, and though it seems impossible, you will your will to will. When the darkness falls upon you and the pain is too to bear, when the heart is bleeding bitter and the cold is everywhere, just bite into the stars at night and fold into the day, and remember that the moonlight is just sunlight anyway. Striking out upon the road, struck down on her own. No one there for company, no one left to hold. She's calling out her name at night, hoping to be heard. Far across the lonely miles sings a morning bird. When the darkness falls upon you and the pain is too to bear, when the heart is bleeding bitter and the cold is everywhere, just bite into the stars at night and fold into the day, and remember that the moonlight is just sunlight anyway. When the darkness falls upon you and the pain is too to bear, when the heart is bleeding bitter and the cold is everywhere, just bite into the stars at night and fold into the day, and remember that the moonlight is just sunlight anyway, and remember that the moonlight is just sunlight anyway. Far across the lonely miles sings a morning bird.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. The show is Horses Sing None of It. My name is Ralph Litwin, And for those watching who are regular viewers, you'll notice that we actually have an audio, a studio audience today, which is unusual. Our guest, that's because our guest, Tret Fure, has brought them with her.
Yes, I have.
Her fan base. Happen to live locally.
Yes, I got 2 good friends that live locally. Isn't that nice?
And I'm just going to read a little bit of your bio here because I think you have a very interesting background. In the early 70s, at a time when the music industry was particularly inaccessible to women, Tret Fure was rewriting the rules. At 19, she toured and eventually recorded Mousetrap with Spencer Davis, penning the record's first single. Little Feat's Lowell George produced Fure's self-titled debut on MCA Records, and a short time later, she was opening for the most successful commercial bands of the decade, Yes, Poco, and the Jay Giles Band. Since that time, the writer, producer, vocalist, and gifted instrumentalist has navigated her career with integrity and determination. After becoming one of the first women sound engineers in the country, she left the mainstream music industry. And she has retained a fierce desire to retain full artistic control, and she began exploring the independent side of the industry. And you've been doing that since,
Yes,
I take
have.
it.
Yes, for 30 years now I've been doing that.
So how did you first get hooked by the music bug?
I got hooked when I was 5 years old, when I got my first piano. And I was writing music when I was 6. But my life really changed when I was 11. I got my first acoustic guitar. My brother came home with a guitar, and I just said, must have. Must have. And I started playing then, and I got turned on to some of the folk artists of the era, mainly Judy Collins. I learned finger picking by putting my ear up against a speaker because we didn't have how-to books in those days. And I would just listen to her way of picking, and I learned how to finger pick. And I listened to Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and Phil Oakes and, God, Woody Guthrie, anyone I could. And then later, Joni Mitchell and James Taylor. Learned a lot of picking style from listening to James Taylor. So I've had the bug all my life, really.
Born with it.
Yeah, I was born with it, indeed.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you give us another tune then?
All right. This is it's a true story about my grandparents. I am half Norwegian and half Italian, and half my family is from Iowa and Minnesota, and the other half is from the Bronx, basically. So. But my grandparents were farmers, and they were married for 75 years. They lived to be 96 and 98, and they had such a remarkable life together that I wrote a story about them called Ancestors. She gazed down softly at him, her special handsome beau. At 93, her love for Pa did ever brightly show. 3/4 of a century through hard times and the good. They never spoke an angry word, I hardly think they could. I watched her smile sweetly, her twinkling eyes of brown. A young girl at the heart of things, the weight had slowed her down. We never thought that kids would come, then Pa turned with a grin. Ah, but when we learned we couldn't stop and quit after the twins. 11 children all in all, and a grandson taken in. Loving tales of years gone by through the thickest and the thin. A farmer needs a lot of help. The kids all worked each day, plowing fields and digging peat and bringing in the hay. And Grandpa had the toughest skin, he'd never seemed to mind. Packing in the silo and putting in the time. And the boys would stamp and shiver through winter's deepest chill. but he never seemed to freeze like them, that strong Norwegian will. But as they aged and needed care, a new life soon arose. With heavy heart at 90, the sweetheart still so close. With failing eyes and failing ears, reluctantly agreed to leave their home in Keister and move on to Albert Lee. And it was common knowledge in the home, with all the lights turned down, with all the elders tucked tight in, and darkness all around. Pa would push his bed up next to Ma's, there in the room, and hand in hand across the reach, the sleeping bride and groom. Pa would always say he hoped he'd be the first to go. He couldn't bear to live without his precious Anna Flo. As fate would soon decide it, Clement passed away. At 96, a sweet goodbye was all that he could say. And Ma passed from us 2 years hence, peacefully at ease, reaching outstretched arms to someone only she could see. I do believe she reached for Pa, I'd like to think it's so, waiting from the other side for his precious Anna Flo. And all that we remember, and all we never will, the grandsons and the granddaughters and the generations still, we've written down our memories to pass as history. We cannot lose the light of all our precious ancestry.
Well, you're here on tour from Wisconsin, where you're now residing, and I guess your most recent album is this one, Back
That's
Home?
right. Yep. It's been out since January.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah, it is. And I've been on the road ever since.
That's a long tour.
Yeah, it is. It's winding down for a little bit for the summer, and then it'll kick back in the fall.
So how many years have you been touring?
Since I was 19, I started working when I was 19 with Spencer, and I was on the road with him for a couple of years, with Spencer Davis. At the time, he was doing a lot of acoustic blues, and I was playing 12-string lead belly style guitar at the time, so it was a perfect match.
Cool.
And so I worked with him for about a year and a half until I got my own record deal. And at 21 in 1973, I started touring. Toured for probably the next 4 years when I lost my deal, lost my management, and started engineering. And spent the next 5 years basically in the recording studio, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
Being an engineer, then getting into production. And all the while maintaining my own band. I was doing a lot of punk and new wave stuff in the late 70s, which was really fun. And so I would trade producers. I'd knock off hours off their time if they'd let me record a song with their players. So I was constantly making demos and playing in the local clubs in LA where, you don't get paid to play in clubs in LA. You almost have to pay them. It's considered showcasing. So So
Like
I
that
worked.
in New York too.
Yeah, same thing in New York, absolutely. I know, I was just there. So, I was pretty much off the road for 5 years, and then I hooked up with Chris Williamson in 1981, and I started touring again. We worked as a duo for about 19 years, as well as working solo in the midst of all that.
Wow.
So I've been on the road steady for the last 20 years, pretty much.
So I hope you enjoy
I'm
it.
tired. I just got very tired. No, I do enjoy it. I really do. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and actually I'm driving a lot more now than flying. So it's a lot of hours in the car, a lot of motels. Stay with a lot of friends, which helps a lot.
Need a good sound system
And,
in that vehicle.
Yeah, I do. I do. Lots of CDs. And actually studying Italian tapes right now because I'm going to go to Italy in the fall. Not to play, but to visit my roots. So.
Cool. We should tell folks how to get in touch with you by finding your website at www.tretfury.com or www.tomboygirl.com.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to both websites, and there's a slight difference. One is really focused on your career, and what's
and the other is pretty much a shopping site. I have besides my CDs, I have started a line of clothing called Tomboy Girl Wear, which is in honor of one of my rock and roll songs from my previous CD called Tomboy Girl. It just started out as a T-shirt, and now I have all kinds of different hats and shirts and stuff. So, and that's where most people can buy my CDs and get my music. And my site is geared towards finding out where I'm performing, what I'm doing. I usually write a monthly letter to tell people just how tired I am. And otherwise, in between the two, there's all the information that one would want.
All right. And your email address is accessible from there.
Yes.
They can find out how to get in touch with you if they want
Yep,
to.
click on email right on my site, yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. What else you got?
This is one of my all-time favorite, and it's on this CD as well. This is one of my favorite songs. If I can just tune the guitar. It's a time I still remember from a place that I could never forget. It's a piece of broken pottery from a veil of deep regret. It's a sound of voices in the waves, it's the sound of sea on sea. It's a beat of all creation, it's the heart of you and me. And it's all over, it's all over, it's all over town. It's all over, it's all over, it's all over town. But I'll find you in the newsstand, I'll pass you in the underground, I'll see you at the country fair, I'll see you around town, I'll call you on a bet sometime, we'll laugh outside the schoolyard and wonder how we ever found our way back home. There's a storm outside the window, there's thunder in my heart, and the rain lets fall the teardrops and the sunlight breaks apart. It's a sense of something sacred, it's the sound of sea on the sea. It's a beat of all creation, the part of you and me. And it's all over, it's all over, it's all over, over town. It's all over, it's all over, it's all over town. But I'll find you in the newsstand, I'll pass you in the underground, I'll see you at the country fair, I'll see you around town. I'll call you on a bet sometime, we'll laugh outside the schoolyard and wonder how we ever found our way back home. But I'll find you in the newsstand, I'll pass you in the underground, I'll see you at the country fair, I'll see you around town. I'll call you on a bet sometime, we'll laugh outside the schoolyard and wonder how we ever found our way back home. And wonder how we ever found our way back home. Nice audience. Nice audience.
Yeah, best audience we've ever had here in the studio. I don't think we've ever had 3 people in here before.
That clap that loudly.
Sometimes people ask me how I find guest artists to come on the show, and
I was going to ask you that myself.
well, there's all different kinds of ways, but the way I found you was there was a poster on the bulletin board at the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship about
that's
your
right.
concert in somewhere in Pennsylvania. And I was there for some odd reason, I forget, dropping off another poster or something.
Right.
And I looked at that and I said, now this looks like an interesting performer. So I just went to your website through the internet and I emailed your email address, and sure enough, you were coming right through here.
That's right. Wow. That's great.
But other ways, I'm not going to go talk about that now. Let's hear some more of your music.
Okay. How much time do we have? Do we have time to?
We have 5 minutes.
Well, we should do that. Do you want to do the
Yeah, sure.
song we rehearsed?
Yeah,
Play some banjo with me?
sure. Well, thank you for taking time to come by,
My
share
pleasure.
your music with us.
My pleasure. We'll do it again sometime. It's close enough, huh? We still in tune?
I think we are.
This train only runs on a one-way track. Once you head east, there's no turning back. Once you're on board, you can ride for days through the evening fog and the morning haze. There's no getting off once you're on the rail. Come to win and come to fail. The big wheels rumble through the frozen night, past the Heartbreak Hotel and the neon light. someday they'll put it in place. Give it a name, give it a face. Well, I ride the hansom as the wind blows by, the trees all bend to the cry. This train keeps my heartbeat steady. Line up the rhythm and the roll is ready. This train keeps me right on track. Only the wheels and the rest of my back. This town looks good as a town can be. Far from the mountains, far from the sea. Winter behind me and spring so near. Everything I hope for, everything I fear. Think I may get off when this train comes still. Find me a new start, find me a will. Ride up the rhythm and roll up the rest. Stand down the sorrow, stand up the best. Now I ride the hansom as the wind blows by, and the trees all bend to the cry. This train keeps my heartbeat steady. Line up the rhythm and the roll is ready. This train keeps me right on track. Only the wheels and the rest of my back. Only the wheels and the rest of my back. Only the wheels and the rest of my back.
Thank you.
It's not an easy one to follow. Good work.
I almost followed it. Well, we've got another 40 seconds or so. I don't know if you want to tag a little piece of song on there.
Yeah, I can. I got a real short thing you can fade out on even. I might even make it. Who knows?
Thanks again for being here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I will always. Good. There goes 20 seconds. I will always see you clearly. I will always know where you are. I will